It was raining the day Olivia Hayes died. At least, that's what everyone believed. Black umbrellas filled the cemetery, soft cries echoed in the distance, and standing far behind them, hidden in silence, Olivia Hayes watched her own funeral, alive, unseen, and for the first time in her life, she was finally seeing the truth.
Olivia Hayes didn't break in a single moment. She disappeared, quietly, like a light fading in a room where no one ever bothered to look. Every morning, before the sun touched the sky, she was already awake. The kitchen filled with the soft sound of coffee brewing, plates placed carefully on the table, a warm breakfast made with silent hope. Hope that today someone might notice. But the house remained cold. Ethan Blake, her husband, sat across from her, scrolling through his phone, barely looking up. There was a time he used to smile at her, a time when her presence meant something. Now, she felt like background noise in her own life. "Later, Olivia. I'm busy. Not now." His words were few, but their impact heavy enough to erase her piece by piece. Dinner became a ritual of silence. 2 people, 1 table, no connection. And at night, while the world slept, Olivia stared at the ceiling in the dark, not crying, not speaking, just existing, wondering how it was possible to feel so alone while lying inches away from someone who once loved you. And slowly, without realizing it, Olivia didn't fight the loneliness anymore. She accepted it, and that was the moment she truly began to disappear.
Silence isn't always peaceful. Sometimes it's the loudest thing in the room. That night, the house felt heavier than usual. The walls didn't just surround Olivia, they pressed in on her. The clock ticked loudly, every second, echoing through the emptiness. Ethan was there, just a few steps away, sitting on the edge of the bed, his face lit only by the cold glow of his phone, scrolling, tapping, detached, like she didn't exist. Olivia stood in the doorway for a moment, watching him, waiting for him to look up. He didn't, not even once. She walked in slowly, sat beside him, close enough to feel his presence, but not his attention. Her fingers tightened around her phone, a message already typed. "Can we talk?" She stared at those 3 words, simple, harmless, but to her, they felt heavier than anything she had ever said. She pressed send. The message delivered, seen. And then, nothing. Seconds passed, then minutes. Ethan didn't react, didn't look at her, didn't say a word, as if the message never existed. Olivia's chest tightened, her breath slowed, not in panic, but in realization. She stood up quietly, walked out of the room, closing the door without a sound. Not because she was calm, but because she had learned no one listens to noise anyway. In the living room, she tried one last time. She called Chloe, her best friend. The phone rang, once, twice, 3 times, then silence. Call ended. Olivia stared at the screen. No callback, no message, nothing. She let out a small, broken laugh, not because something was funny, but because something inside her finally understood. She whispered to herself, softly, almost like a secret, "Maybe I don't matter anymore." The room didn't respond. The world didn't react. And that silence, it answered everything. Olivia walked to the mirror, stopped, looked at her reflection. For a moment, she searched for herself, for the woman she used to be, the one who laughed easily, who felt loved, who believed she mattered. But the woman staring back at her felt like a stranger. Empty eyes, faded smile, a presence without meaning. A tear rolled down her cheek, slow, silent, unnoticed. And then a thought appeared, not loud, not sudden, but dangerous. "What if," she whispered, "what if I disappear?" She paused, her reflection staring back at her, as if waiting. Would they notice then? The question hung in the air, heavy, unanswered, but deep inside, Olivia already knew. And that was the moment everything changed. The next morning was quiet. Too quiet, almost unreal. The kind of quiet that makes the world feel like it's holding its breath. Olivia Hayes woke up before dawn. The soft light of the rising sun barely touched her room. She moved slowly, deliberately, like a ghost rehearsing a final exit. Every step felt heavier than the last, but also freeing. She wore her favorite coat, the one Ethan once said made her look radiant. He didn't notice, of course. He never did. And that thought, strangely, made it easier. Olivia left the house without a sound. No goodbye, no note, no lingering looks at walls that held her memories. The world outside was silent, foggy, and cold. Perfect. Her footsteps echoed faintly on the sidewalk, mixing with the distant hum of morning traffic. She didn't look back. Why would she? Nothing and no one waited for her anyway. She arrived at the river at the edge of the city. The air was damp and heavy with mist. The river flowed calmly, deceptively serene, like it had been waiting for her. She laid her scarf on the ground, placed her phone carefully beside it. She didn't jump, she didn't cry, she didn't scream. She just walked away. Hours passed. Her absence was discovered quickly. Neighbors called the police. Search teams combed the streets. Social media lit up with messages. Missing woman, last seen near the river. Pray for Olivia Hayes. And by evening, the world had come to a single conclusion. Olivia Hayes was dead. Meanwhile, in her empty house, Ethan Blake received the call. His voice was shaky, uncertain. "Olivia? Missing? Are you serious?" For the first time in months, he seemed to notice her. For the first time, he felt something. Her friends, too, reacted. Chloe Bennett posted online, "We hope she's safe. We can't believe this is happening." All the words, the panic, the guilt, all of it directed at the illusion of her absence. But Olivia? She was alive, hidden, watching it all unfold. The calls, the messages, the search, the fear, the regret, the false mourning. She felt a strange mixture of emotions, sorrow for herself, contempt for them, and an unexpected liberation. Because in disappearing, she had finally taken control. For the first time in years, no one dictated her story. No one's expectations weighed on her. No one could ignore her, because she had vanished. And deep down, she knew this was only the beginning. The camera would pan to Olivia walking into the mist, silhouette strong, unbroken, leaving the river and her old life behind. The sound of water flowing, wind howling, her reflection in the puddles disappearing as she disappears from the world she once knew. The rain had stopped, but the sky remained a heavy gray.
Clouds hung low, like they were bowing to a grief the world had suddenly decided to notice. The church doors creaked as mourners entered. Black umbrellas were folded, coats stiff with rain. Inside, candles flickered, casting trembling shadows along the walls. The air smelled faintly of lilies and wet stone. And somewhere outside, hidden behind a tree, Olivia Hayes stood, alive, watching, every beat of her heart echoing like a drum of vengeance and clarity. Ethan Blake stepped forward first, his suit crisp, his tie slightly crooked, tears in his eyes. I didn't realize how much she meant to me, he whispered, barely audible over the soft murmur of the congregation. Olivia's breath caught. He sounded human again, vulnerable, regretful. Her chest tightened, a strange cocktail of sorrow, anger, and power filling her. Chloe Bennett came next. Her mascara ran down her cheeks. She clutched a tissue in one hand and her phone in the other, capturing moments of grief for social media. "She was always there for me. I'll never forget her," Chloe said, her voice trembling with exaggerated sorrow. Olivia watched it all, every tear, every pause, every dramatic sigh. She should have felt touched, she should have felt warmth, but she didn't, because she knew the truth. The coffin loomed in the center, the casket lid polished and shining, a name etched on the brass plate, Olivia Hayes. Mourners whispered prayers. Ethan placed his hand lightly on the coffin, as if he could magically bring her back. Chloe leaned in closer, sobbing theatrically. And Olivia? She remained hidden in the shadows, silent, absorbing every moment like a predator watching its prey. Visual cinematic beats. Camera pans over the crying mourners, lingering on faces twisted in regret. Slow zoom on Ethan's trembling hand on the casket. Olivia's silhouette reflected in the stained glass windows behind them. Subtle sound of wind outside, as if nature itself is aware of the deception. Minutes stretched into eternity. The ritual of mourning had begun, and for Olivia, the suspense was unbearable. She saw Ethan lean down to kiss the coffin. "She deserved better," he whispered. A shiver ran down Olivia's spine. Better? Really? Chloe snapped pictures, captioning them online with hashtags. Gone too soon, RIP Olivia Hayes. Her sobs were loud, performative, almost theatrical. Olivia felt her lips curl into a small, cold smile. They mourned the illusion of her death, not the woman they ignored, not the life they failed to see. The priest's voice echoed. "We commit her soul to rest. May she find peace." Olivia inhaled sharply. Peace? The irony was cruel. She had found peace already. Theirs had not. As the service ended, mourners began to leave. Candles extinguished, umbrellas reopened, black coats disappeared into the gray world outside. And then, Olivia noticed something that shattered the final veil of illusion. Ethan pulled out his phone. A smile spread across his face. "Yeah, see you tonight," he murmured casually. Chloe laughed softly with someone nearby. She was too emotional anyway. Olivia's stomach dropped. The performance had ended. The truth had been revealed. Heart broken. They weren't mourning her, they were mourning the idea of her. And for the first time, Olivia understood. The world she left behind was nothing but a lie. The funeral ended. The mourners drifted away into the gray afternoon, their umbrellas snapping open against the drizzle that had returned. Candles melted down to nothing. The flowers, once vibrant, began to wilt. And Olivia Hayes remained invisible. Alive. She stepped out from the shadows, the cold wind whipping through her hair. Her eyes, dark and sharp, scanned the departing crowd. Ethan Blake walked ahead, coat dripping, phone in hand, laughing softly at a message. Chloe Bennett followed, her mascara streaked, but her grin smug. Neither of them noticed her. And that was the truth. They weren't crying for her. They were crying for the version of themselves that failed to notice her when she was alive. They weren't mourning her. They were mourning their own guilt and regret. Olivia's chest tightened, not with sadness, but with a cold, intoxicating clarity. Every lie, every ignored message, every unreturned call, every broken promise, all of it had led her here. She remembered the nights lying awake beside Ethan, the endless silences that screamed louder than words, the times Chloe needed her but never once asked, "How are you?" All the love she gave wasted, all the loyalty forgotten. And now, watching them pretend to grieve, she felt a power she had never known before. The same people who ignored her, who erased her existence, were now powerless to see her. Olivia's silhouette framed against the church's stained glass windows. She took a deep breath. For the first time in years, she didn't feel small. She didn't feel invisible. She didn't feel abandoned. She felt free. Every step she took away from that cemetery, the chains of her old life fell away, one by one. The city beyond awaited. Unknown streets, unknown faces, a life she could shape herself. She paused at the edge of town. The wind tugged at her coat. She looked back once, not at the mourners, not at the coffin, but at the life that had suffocated her. Then she smiled. Not a timid smile, not a hopeful one, a deadly, liberating smile. The woman they buried in that coffin was gone. The new Olivia was untouchable. Days later, in a bustling city far from the town she once called home, Olivia walked confidently through the streets. Different hair, different name, different life. And somewhere in the back of her mind, a quiet, undeniable thought lingered. They will never know what they lost. They will never mourn me for real. And now, I am unstoppable.
Sometimes the people who cry at your funeral are the same ones who buried you alive while you were still breathing. And when you finally walk away, there's nothing left for them but regret. They cried for me, but not for me. They mourned the shadow of what they imagined, a version of me that only existed in their convenience. I lived in the corners of their attention, in the echoes of their fleeting kindness, while they danced in the sunlight, blinded by their own self-importance. I gave everything. My mornings, my nights, my laughter, my silent prayers that someone, anyone, would see me. And they gave nothing in return but silence, cold, heavy, crushing. They buried me alive, while I breathed, while I existed, while I still reached for them with hope, and they didn't notice, not once. But today, I am no longer her, the one who waited, the one who begged, the one who faded quietly in the background. I am gone. I stepped out of their coffin, not a corpse, but a woman reborn from the ashes of her own neglect. I am the storm they could not predict, the wind that bends but does not break, the shadow that haunts the edges of their vision, and the fire that burns silently behind their regret. They will search for me, for the girl they ignored, the wife they never loved, the friend who always gave, and they will find nothing. I am no longer small, no longer unseen, no longer waiting for their permission to exist. Every tear they shed, every whispered apology too late, only fuels the freedom I now own. I am walking away, not because I am weak, not because I forgive, but because I finally understand. Their world was never mine. Their love was never real. Their grief is meaningless to me.
I will carry nothing of them, only the lessons they taught me in silence, that waiting for someone else to see your worth is the cruelest kind of death. And I will never die that way again. I walk into the city, its streets unknown, its faces strangers, its skyline gray and storm-tossed, and with each step, I shed the weight of their world, of their lies, of their inability to love me. I am free, completely, irrevocably. Let them cry, let them regret, let them remember me in whispers, in guilt, in fear, but never in their arms, because I am gone. I am no longer theirs. I am my own. And the world that ignored me, the world that buried me alive, will never, ever hold me down again. I am Olivia Hayes. I am the silence they fear. I am the fire they cannot touch. I am alive, and they are nothing but echoes in the story I now write for myself.
If you felt Olivia's pain, if her silence, her heartbreak, her invisible struggle moved you, then don't just watch, subscribe now, hit that bell icon, and join us as we uncover more stories of truth, betrayal, and courage. Stories that touch your heart, stories that make you question what is really means to be seen, because sometimes the most powerful stories are not the ones that end, but the ones that live in your mind forever. Click subscribe and never miss a story that changes the way you'll feel.